Thank you.
Chair's next pleased to recognize Ms. Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, for having a hearing on this topic, which has been ignored for too long. It's disturbing and sad to hear the stories of what these younger migrants go through. They are no less deserving of personal safety and protection just because of the circumstances under which they arrived. So it's also infuriating, though, because the dysfunction in the ORR placement program has been known for a long time, for about 10 years, since states and local communities that have been dealing with the influx started raising the alarm. But what is most infuriating is that even with all the well-documented risks and problems associated with the federal government taking custody of minors and adults claiming to be minors who are smuggled in and then releasing them to unvetted sponsors and then washing its hands of responsibility for them, even knowing the risks, still the Biden administration chose to throw gasoline on that dumpster fire by actually expanding opportunities for the illegal smuggling of minors into the country and expanding opportunities for these minors to be trafficked for cheap labor, commercial sex, gangs, and more. It was done by dismantling the relatively effective policies enacted by prior administrations that had tried not only to improve the UIC placement system and mitigate the risk of trafficking, but to decrease the flow of child migrants. Under the Biden policies, the annual number of UACs referred to HHS custody after crossing illegally has tripled from an average of 40,000 a year to more than 120,000 in each of the last 2 years. Half of the 600,000 unaccompanied minors who've been released in the country since 2012 have arrived on Biden's watch. Not only did he relax border controls and suppress immigration enforcement inside the country, when the numbers predictably exploded, his officials responded by gutting what few meager protections for child migrants still existed. As HHS Secretary Becerra revealed in his now notorious video statement, the goal was to release these kids faster with fewer questions asked, to make it a more efficient assembly line. And this assembly line is staffed by crony contractors spending billions of taxpayer dollars on what is now a pipeline for child labor trafficking. It is truly an urgent task for Congress to address this problem. There is no question that the placement process for UACs can be improved. These improvements should be informed by experts like those here today who know the system, by child welfare agencies within the states and communities where the migrants are placed, and by the federal immigration and other law enforcement agencies who understand the smuggling and trafficking business. We need these improvements, and we need more oversight on HHS and its contractors. Just last night, I got a message from an insider voicing their concern about how HHS lets its contractors operate the youth migrant shelters with unlicensed and untrained staff who apparently are utterly unqualified to be in charge of these kids. We would never allow this to happen in a school or any other juvenile setting involving American kids. But fixing the shelter and placement system is not going to solve the problem, really. Based on my experience, I see no chance that the federal government can construct a system for processing unaccompanied illegal alien minors that is up to the task of handling the huge number of kids, more than 120,000 last year, who will continue to come, who will continue to be put in the hands of criminal smugglers, traffickers, unscrupulous employers, abusive sponsors, as long as they know that they're going to be released into the country once they get here. The fundamental problem which Congress can solve is with the law. First, the loopholes in the TVPRA must be closed, allowing the government to swiftly repatriate the minors to their homes if they are not at risk, which most are not. And Congress must direct and fund ICE to boost its anti-trafficking and its worksite enforcement activities to go after the illegal and exploitative employment of the young migrants. It is also imperative to restore ICE's authority to arrest sponsors who it finds have been involved in the smuggling or trafficking or illegal employment of these minors. which was taken away from them by the Harris Amendment that passed a couple of years ago, which I noted in my written statement. Congress should use its appropriations authority to force HHS and DHS to have meaningful coordination with state and local governments and their child welfare agencies. And finally, Congress should reform other provisions in the law that entice minors to come illegally, such as the Special Immigrant Juvenile Program, which should be limited to accommodate only those youth who have no responsible parent or guardian to care for them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your testimony. And